Mayor, members of the council, the meeting is now being live streamed.
Thank you so much for that, City Clerk. The meeting will now reconvene at 6:08 p.m. City Attorney, please provide the closed session report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The City Council is now back in open session, having met in closed session to discuss the item posted on the agenda. Staff provided a report, but no reportable action was taken. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you for that, City Attorney. If there's no objection by the City Council, we will now adjourn closed session City Council meeting at 6:08 p.m. And good evening and welcome to the February 24th, 2025, 6 p.m. regular joint meeting of the Bell Garden City Council and Successor Agency to the Community Development Commission. The meeting will now come to order at 6:09 p.m. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any members of the council should have a conflict of interest, please announce the item you are recusing yourself from prior to the item being heard. Tonight's invocation will be given by Minister Daniel Anguino, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our very own Chief Camacho.
Good evening, everyone. City Mayor and council members, let us bow our heads as we come before God. Heavenly Father, we just thank you in this evening for allowing us to be here. This wonderful opportunity, Lord. God, and I just pray over this group that you may impart your knowledge and wisdom, Father. Your word says that in the multitude of counsel, the city is safe. And I just thank you for their sacrifice. I pray over their families, that you may protect them, Father God. We pray over our police department, and for every officer that goes out to our city, Lord, to keep us safe. I just pray that you send your angels to protect them and bring them home, Lord. I ask you this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Face the flag. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance.
Thank you for that, Chief. We will now call roll the City Council. City Clerk.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the council and Successor Agency, Barsana. Councilwoman Guillen.
Present.
Councilwoman Sanchez.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa.
Present.
And Mayor Chavez.
Present. Thank you for that, City Clerk. We will now move on to presentations. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Chavez. The first item that we have is a proclamation for Jose Ariel Camacho Barraza Commemoration and Celebration Day, which is tomorrow, February 25th. I will let Councilmember Guillen fill in the details with the proclamation. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. A proclamation in honor of Jose Ariel Camacho Barraza. Whereas Jose Ariel Camacho Barraza was born on July 8, 1992 in Guamuchil, Sinaloa, Mexico. From a young age, he showed an extraordinary talent for music, mastering the guitar and developing a unique style that would later define an era in regional Mexican music. His deep, emotional lyrics and signature requinto guitar sound resonated with his fans, setting him apart as a rising star in the industry. And whereas in 2013, Camacho formed Los Plebes del Rancho, a group that quickly gained recognition for their raw and heartfelt approach to Sierreno music. Their talent caught the attention of Del Records, and in 2014, they signed with the label based here in Bell Gardens, California. This partnership allowed Camacho and his group to expand their reach, bringing their music to audiences across the United States and solidifying their place in the regional music scene. And whereas as their popularity soared, Camacho's distinctive style, characterized by stripped-down instrumentation and emotionally charged storytelling, began influencing a new generation of artists. His music captured the essence of love, struggle, and life, highs and lows, making him a beloved figure among fans. And whereas, tragically, on February 25th, 2015, at just 22 years old, Ariel Camacho lost his life in a car accident in Sinaloa. Following a music festival, his passing sent shockwaves through the music industry, and his devoted fan base but his legacy was only beginning to take shape. And whereas following his death, his song El Karma reached #1 in the Billboard Hot Latin Songs chart in March 2015, and their album soared into the top 5 of the Latin albums chart. Even a decade later, his music continues to be streamed millions of times each month, a testament to his lasting influence. Artists such as Peso Pluma and Tercer Elemento credit Camacho as a major inspiration, carrying forward the sound he pioneered. And whereas today, Ariel Camacho's legacy lives on, not just through his timeless songs, but in the new wave of musicians he has inspired. His impact on regional Mexican music remains undeniable. And as we commemorate the 10th anniversary of his passing, we honor the artist, the storyteller, and the musical visionary who left an everlasting mark on the world. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Isabel Guillen, along with Jorge Chavez, Mayor of the City of Bell Gardens, with the City Council, do hereby proclaim we honor and recognize Jose Ariel Camacho Barraza in Bell Gardens and encourage all citizens to celebrate him. Signed by Mayor Jorge Chavez.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Councilwoman. I believe we also have representatives from Dale Records here present. I'd invite them to speak if they want to share some words.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Guillen. Good evening, council members and Mayor Chavez. My name is Lisette Flores Franco, and I serve as the Government Affairs Director for Dell Records. It is an absolute honor to be here today to receive this proclamation honoring Ariel Camacho, a true Mexican legend, not just in the music genre, but across many different genres. Today is very special. Behind me, I have somebody who was instrumental in his journey, investing in him and making sure that everything that he could do and more was recognized. Please help me welcome our CEO and owner of Dell Records, Mr. Angel Del Villar.
Well, thank you for the speech, George, Miguel, Isabel, everybody here. I really thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Ariel was a big impact, not only to myself, to the genre, but also to Bell Gardens. We've been here 10 years. We call this home, and you know, we hope to be here another 10, 15 years. So thank you guys, and we hope to see you there tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for believing in Bell Gardens and Ariel. And I know you've given a lot to our community, and I would just like to put that out there. Thank you.
Perfect. Now we'll take a picture. All righty then. Thank you so much for that, Councilwoman Guillen, and Dell Records for participating. Next presentation, I have a certificate of recognition for El Jalisciense, Taqueria El Jalisciense. Um, I have the certificate right here. I would like to call them up to come up to the podium. I think that we have some folks, family. Don Jesus is also here. Si quieren venir, pueden venir al frente aquí. I'm going to go ahead and read this certificate of recognition honoring El Jalisciense. The Bell Garden City Council is honored to recognize El Jalisciense. We congratulate you on your successful business, your casual restaurant, and delicious, authentic food. We wish you much success and prosperity for many more years to come. Signed, Jorel Chavez, Mayor of the Bell Garden City Council, February 24th, 2025. I wanna share that El Jalisciense has been a great partner for our community. They have two locations here in the city. And I would say that the original is the one right next to Sarah's Mini Market, right? It's the spot. It's open pretty late too. So if you get hungry at night, it's definitely a go-to. And I'm just very happy to see you here present. There's been a series that I've done every month or every other meeting. I want to recognize a little small local business. So by all means, Don Jesus, I know we've talked in the past, so I just want to say thank you for coming out. Before I open it up to the council, I also want to open it up to you if you have anything you want to share.
Thank you guys for recognizing. Just thank you guys for recognizing the small businesses that, keep the community going.
Perfect. Who do you have with you right there?
This is my mom.
La mamá. ¿Algunas palabras?
Gracias.
Nada. It's all good. Thank you again. Really appreciate it. And I would like to open up to my colleagues if anybody wants to share any words. The two locations is Jabonería and Clara, and then the other one's on Watch Eastern and Watcher, right? Got it.
Bueno, gracias por estar en nuestra comunidad. Gracias por servirla y ser parte de ella con sus exquisitas comidas y esperamos continuar con ustedes. Gracias.
I just want to say thank you for continuing business in our city. I know every single time I drive by your location, there's always a line. I know my brother no longer lives here in the city, but every single time he comes and visits, he makes it a point to go to your location. So thank you for small businesses like you making our city thrive. Gracias, señora, por tener un negocio aquí en nuestra ciudad. Siempre que paso por ahí, siempre tienen línea, ¿verdad? Y mi hermano ya no vive aquí en la ciudad, pero cada vez que visita, tiene que parar a agarrar sus tacos con ustedes. So, muchas gracias.
Me va a regañar el alcalde porque la verdad no he probado yo el jalisciense, pero a lo mejor me pueden recomendar algo. No sé cuál es su orgullo más grande de ahí, de ustedes.
Tacos de cabeza.
De cabeza. Ok, pues allá les caigo para los tacos de cabeza, para la otra.
Sí, felicidades en sus negocios. A mi papá le encantan los tacos de cabeza y cuando estuve en la high school, siempre el local que está ahí por la Eastern siempre ha sido el lugar, ¿no? Para ir después de escuela y sí, muchas memorias bonitas en ese negocio y muchas gracias por todo. Felicidades.
If I could just share one more thing, una cosa más, que los precios son muy económicos, right? That's what I love about it. Y no nomás te dan poquita carnita, sí te la llenan el taco, which I think is critical. Nowadays vas a una taquería y apenas te dan la carne. Like, o sea, ¿qué está pasando? Que nos den un taco bien hecho. So, de nuevo, gracias. Y pues con eso los invito a tomaros una foto aquí enfrente. Thank you so much. Moving right along, I'll go ahead and pass it on to Councilwoman De Leon Sanchez.
I have a proclamation in honor of Women's History Month. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. Whereas American women have played and continue to play a crucial economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of labor force working inside and outside of the home. Whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable and cultural institutions in our nation. Whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military. Whereas American women have been leaders, not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, in the civil rights movement, and many other movements, especially the peace movement, which created a more fair and just society for all. And whereas despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in literature, teaching, and study of American history. Now, there it be resolved that Jorge Chavez, Mayor of the City of Bell Gardens, with the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of March as Women History Month in Bell Gardens and encourage all citizens to celebrate, support, value, and respect all women. Proclaimed this 24th day of February, 2025, signed by our Mayor, Jorge Chavez.
Thank you so much for that. All right, moving right along. Thank you so much for that, Councilwoman De Leon Sanchez. We will now begin item number 6.1. At this time, I will open the public hearing at 6:25 p.m. City Manager, please introduce this item.
Thank you, Mayor Chavez. This item is consideration of ordinance number 955, amending the zoning and planning regulations of our municipal code to extend the public noticing requirements for zoning ordinance from the current 10 days to 20 days in compliance with new state law. I'll turn it over to our Deputy City Manager, Community Development Director, so he can provide a little more detail. Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. We just have a slide on here we're going to go ahead and put on there, but this should be a very brief item. As of January 1st, 2025, a new state law required all cities to amend their zoning code so that at the end of the day, we could change our noticing requirements from 10 days to 20 days. And keeping in mind that this only pertains to public noticing provisions for zoning ordinances applicable with the Planning Commission. So it does not affect your city council meetings. So again, effective January 21st, this is Assembly Bill 2904. And that's pretty much the summary of it. Not much more to that. Again, from 10 days to 20 days. So we do have to make sure that we're prepped ahead of time so that we don't miss a meeting and we have the applicants ahead of time. And again, for this legislative action. So if there's any questions, our city attorney is here to answer them. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Again, just increasing the time for public participation, make sure that people are aware of these legislative actions ahead of time. So tonight we're asking for categorical exemption on this project, waive full reading and introduce ordinance 955 by title only. And consider ordinance 955 to extend the time period, again, to comply with state law. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Deputy City Manager. We will now move to council member comments or questions or comments. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments? See none, we will now open public comments on this item. I will call 3 speakers at a time. And I'd like to call up BC.
Forgot the AI generated prayer here. Thank you. Somebody might need that. Increasing the time for notification from 10 to 20 days per state law. Has there been any studies that showing that it would increase public participation? I mean, you have voter turnout in Bell Gardens at 30%. You think it's going to increase the voter turnout participation? There's no evidence of that. People have lost trust in you, especially you death cult Democrat Party loyalists. Nobody trusts you because you found out during the pot shop debate that it didn't matter what the residents said, whether they approved or disapproved. You looked down your nose at them. You were arrogant. You didn't care what they said, and you voted for the pot shops anyway. You had absolutely no evidence that it's going to increase reading skills, mathematics skills, claiming that it will help educational opportunities, especially at Red Ribbon Week in the schools. What do we tell them? What do we tell the kids at Red Ribbon Week? Oh, don't worry, go buy from the pot shop down there that the city council approved of, and they'll give us more money for educational opportunities here at school. In the meanwhile, families are destroyed, broken up, some cases fentanyl, people die. But you have said nothing about that. But to increase this for zoning, well, we know what Gavin Newsom does at the state level for zoning. You are just slaves on the Democrat Party plantation. You just follow the orders. There's nothing for you to rezone, as we found out over in Palisades. And Mayor Karen Bass, yes, those are the Newsom Bass wildfires. No matter what the television commercials tell you, this is not the LA wildfires. It's the Newsom Bass wildfires. Now, let's make sure we understand that. We're not going to mislabel it, misbrand it, not any disinformation or misinformation, not from your left-wing media hacks that are always pumping this stuff out on the television. So I don't think it's going to increase anything. I don't think you won't get any more residents coming in here to increase this by 20. It's up to you. Increase it if you want. Good luck.
There's no objection by the members of City Council, Successor Agency, and no more comments. I will close public hearing item number 6.1. There's no further council member questions or comments. I will now, we already closed at 6:32 p.m. And then we're on to, may I have a motion to waive the full reading and introduce ordinance 955 to amend public notice provisions for zoning ordinance to comply with state law?
I move.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman De Leon Sanchez and a second by Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa. Can we have a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Barsina?
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sanchez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa?
Yes.
And Mayor Chavez? Motion passes.
Thank you for that. We will now move on to item number 7, public participation on non-agenda items. City Clerk, please announce the instructions.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items listed on the agenda, not listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, subject to an overall 30-minute period. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through Zoom may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will first hear from speakers that are in person, and we didn't receive any written communication.
Thank you for that. I'd like to call up Ernesto Gonzalez.
Good evening, council. My name is Ernesto Gonzalez, and I'm here this evening to share the news of that the Friends of Montebello Unified School Districts Foundation Annual Scholarship application filing period is open, and students can apply by visiting our website at friendsofmusd.org and click on available scholarships. Founded in 2012, we're a local nonprofit foundation that was started by business and community leaders and former MUSD teachers and administrators, with the purpose of providing financial support to students and for instructional initiatives of MUSD. I want to ensure that each student in the Montebello Unified School District is given the opportunity to receive an excellent education in order to become a productive and valuable member of society. Every year, FMUSD Foundation provides tens of thousands of dollars in scholarships, ranging between $1,000 and $3,000 to each student that meets their criteria and successfully completes the application and interview process. I'll just provide a quick summary of some of the requirements. They have to be an MUSD graduating senior, must demonstrate financial need, must be applying to a 2-year or 4-year school, minimum 2.75 GPA, a letter of recommendation, and they have the option of submitting a personal statement or a video submission. And we just want to make folks aware that all application information is kept confidential for the protection of all students and families. As a product of the district, I can say that we're dedicated to getting as many scholarships to as many MUSD students as possible, or as we possibly can. For more information, please visit our website at friendsofmusd.org or our Instagram profile at FMUSDF_scholarship. And we also respectfully request that the city share this information over its various outreach platforms, such as the newsletter or any sort of social media accounts. If this is possible, please let me know who to send this information to. So please help us spread the word. And here's an email that you can reach us at. It's FMUSDF_scholarship@gmail.com. And we're trying to specifically target Bell Garden students. Last year, unfortunately, it was the only high school that we weren't able to award scholarships to. So we're really trying to put in an extra effort to reach out to students in this area. Thank you. And I'll leave these here for your reference. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Ernesto, and we'll be sure to share that on across all of our social media. And we also have an education commission that engages around Montebello Unified and our students, so we'll make sure that they know as well. Thank you for that. Next speaker, Carla Torres.
So good evening, Patty Ochoa, Clinic Director here at our Altamed Viva Oro location here in Bell Gardens on Eastern and Lubeck. So we're here just to bring awareness, right, that we are now open. We opened December 6th and we serve senior population, so 62 years and above, any type of insurance. 61 and below, the patients need to have Medicare. And so we are open. We're going to be having our grand opening soon, and we hope that you guys can join us soon. And we have some flyers here. We're having multiple events. You guys are more than welcome to come to my site and tour the site so that you guys can see our exam rooms that are designed for our seniors in mind. We have technology where we can have interpreters and project it onto the screen. We have big screens so that our patients can see their lab results and interact with the providers as well. And so we really want to just bring awareness that Altamed has made it to Bell Gardens. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Just to share that as part of our community engagement, we're working very closely with community-based organizations and local businesses in the area. We're developing and implementing wellness programming, and we're very happy to participate with different local organizations as part of health fairs and other community activations. Please let us know, and you're gonna see us around more often.
Yes.
And we have some flyers with some information that we would like to.
If I may.
Thank you for
Mr.
that.
Mayor,
Councilmember Borson.
just want to thank you guys for being here and promoting the services for our seniors. If you guys haven't met our Director of Recreation and Community Services, she's awesome. She will be able to connect you with more staff from our Family Services Center. And what they do is they refer people to services like yours. So please connect with them. And I appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Appreciate it. Like to call it BC.
All right, it's words of Pauly Shore. I'm back. Humbly but proudly bringing diversity to the conversation. And I can feel the love of the inclusion from everybody up there. Thank you very much. Women's History Month, just a quick note on that. Again, it's kind of hard to be taking you seriously about women when you want to talk about American women or any women internationally as well. Since we've just gone through the Olympics and there was, we had incidences where men claiming to be women were punching real women in the face and knocking them out in the Olympic boxing events. And not a word from any of you, not a word of objection at all. I mean, to think that we should take you seriously about representing women or standing up for women. And we see this over and over and over again in track meets, basketball, rugby, women just being pummeled by men claiming to be women. But since you're on the Democrat Party plantation, you can't object because you are a slave on that plantation and you refuse to change your mind or have a change of heart. Stop living in the darkness and actually represent women. Stand up for girls. Stop trying to mutilate them. Women are cool, girls are fine, but they don't belong fighting with men in a boxing ring. They don't belong on a rugby field, getting plowed under by men. It's ridiculous. But unfortunately, the Democrats, you even have a Supreme Court justice that couldn't even define what a woman was. Couldn't even define, they deny science altogether, acknowledging the difference between somebody with XX chromosomes and XY chromosomes. Now the question is, how much will you accept of fantasy land nonsense, whether you think a woman can change into a man or a man can change into a woman? How far will you go? How far will you go? If you can't get that baby in the womb to kill that baby, you're trying to disfigure them outside of the womb. And you want to say that that's okay? I don't think so. Represent women legitimately.
Thank you. If there's no objection by the members of City Council, I will close public participation on non-agenda items. City Clerk, please announce the instructions for public participation on agenda items.
Yes, thank you. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through Zoom didn't receive any written comments, and we will hear from members of the public that are physically present in the council chamber.
Thank you for that, City Clerk. I'd like to call it BC.
All right. 11.1, commission appointment list, vacancies. Doesn't matter. Just follow Gavin Newsom's lead. Do whatever Gavin Newsom tells you. If you want to be an Uncle Tom or a Mammy on the Democrat Party plantation, go ahead. Remember, the Uncle Toms aren't the ones that left. Uncle Toms are the ones that stayed on the plantation. They were Democrat Party slaves, founded in 1828. We had to have somebody pick our cotton for us, right? But now we say we have to have somebody pick our fruit. That's the Democrat Party. Still doing the same thing. So don't worry about any vacancies or planning commission. Just do whatever the white slave owner up there in Sacramento has for you. You follow his orders and don't stray from it either, or they will ostracize you. Maybe even worse. Mid-year budget review. Looks like revenues are projected to be a little lower by $3.4 million. And expenditures are projected to be higher by 508,000. If that's what that's talking about. The state is failing, county is failing, cities are failing because you won't create atmospheres in which businesses can thrive. And you do that by reducing taxation, rolling back regulations, adhering to rule of law and law and order. That's what has to be done, which is 180 degrees, totally opposite of what your narratives are. Change your mind, come out of the darkness, and enjoy the new president we have, for crying out loud. He's doing a great job with Elon Musk, the Tesla guy. All of you want to drive a Tesla, right? Oh, now Sheryl Crow wants to sell her Tesla. She doesn't like a Tesla anymore. It's amazing how you can switch so easily, but the state is failing, the cities are failing. Create atmospheres in which people can thrive and have more power and liberty. Give it to themselves and follow the rule of law. Support, have the manager direct the police chief to work with ICE and deport illegal aliens in the city. But you do the opposite. You have a red card, which you're declaring yourself a sanctuary city. Yes. Oh, don't worry. Downey's doing the same thing. Change your mind. Come out and join the rest of us. Thank you.
There's no objection by members of the city council. I will close public participation. I'd like to pass it on to our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Chavez. Just going back a couple weeks since the last council meeting, on February 12th, we had an immigration workshop over at Ross Hall. There were about 65 attendees, along with others that were watching online. They ended up going about 2 hours or so, maybe even 2.5 hours. So a lot of interest in that. On Monday, February 17th, City Hall was closed for President's Day. I always want to thank the employees that still worked or were on call that day to keep everything running smoothly throughout the city. On February 18th at 4 p.m. at City Hall, we had our monthly workshop for property owners. And at 6 p.m., the police department was already scheduled to hold a neighborhood watch meeting at Ross Hall. They had a focus on parking enforcement issues, and then also we used that opportunity to go back through the immigration issues that were discussed at the meeting the week before. On February 19th at 4 p.m. at City Hall, we held our monthly tenant workshop. Also on February 19th, we held our first planning commission meeting of 2025. I think that was the first meeting in 3 or 4 months. So there were some projects backed up there. There were several important matters that were discussed, including the redevelopment of a local business and consideration of 2 retail cannabis applications. On February 21st, we had a weekly resident art and yard sale that we have every Friday at Veterans Park. This time around, we also had the free farmers market. And I believe, according to our Recreation Community Services Director, there was 3,000 pounds of food that were distributed. And Support and Feed is looking to potentially provide more food based on the need, because pretty much gave everything away. So I think that's a success. Tomorrow here at City Hall, February 25th, our local Toastmasters Club is meeting here at 6:30. Is our annual open house. So anybody here, any residents or anybody that's interested that may be listening that would want to attend and just see what the club is about, meet new people, learn new skills. It's a comfortable environment. You can see how the club offers growth opportunities, no matter what your speaking level is. And if you're a resident of Bell Gardens, the city will reimburse for the annual cost of membership with the Toastmasters Club. Again, that's tomorrow here at City Hall at 6:30 p.m. On Thursday, February 27th, we have a virtual town hall meeting for people to participate in. It's regarding our transit-oriented community-specific plan and zoning code update at 6 p.m. If you just go to Bell Gardens calendar, you can Google search that, or if you go on our app, click on calendar event, you'll see there's a registration link on February 27th for a Zoom meeting. It's easy registration. It's bellgardens.org/TOC register. TOC meaning transit oriented community. On Wednesday, March 5th, we have a virtual meeting. Another one similar for the climate action plan. That one is at 6 p.m. Also registration link on our calendar page. On Thursday, March 6th at Ross Hall at 6 p.m., we have our first of 3 Mexican American Opportunity Fund immigration workshops. This first one is a Know Your Rights workshop. So this is another one of the series of workshops that we're excited about. That will be in about a week and a half. On coming up as far as events go, it's been a little bit quiet on events since the holidays. So on Saturday, March 8th at 8:30 a.m., we have our annual 5K run and walk. If there's any residents out there that are interested in running or walking and the registration fee, they need assistance with that, if they contact the Recreation Community Services Department, they have scholarships and that available to help cover that cost if necessary. Also want to mention, the mayor's asked for a little while here if we can add some of the streets and infrastructure improvements that we do out there throughout the city, if we can add those to the calendar. So with a location and kind of mentioning what it is we're doing, whether it be street grinding, things like that. We post that on social media, usually if there's going to be an impact. But also this would just provide people information about projects that are going on throughout the city, council members, residents, businesses. Also, we had our RFP for strategic plan services. It closed about 10 days ago. We received 10 proposals. We're currently reviewing the proposals. Those will be brought back to the council at the next meeting on March 10th. And the last thing I just want to mention on our consent calendar, we've got several items as usual that help residents, business stakeholders live and work in a safe environment. Includes this meeting has an agreement with LA County for over $225,000 in continued rental assistance program funding. We're seeking approval to solicit bids for over $4.5 million in construction projects for complete street improvements. So that'll help pedestrians, people on bicycles, and motor vehicles as well. We're also requesting approval to solicit bids for almost $1.5 million in residential street improvements that are funded by Measure R and Measure M. So all of these are resources that are being brought to the residents and businesses and other stakeholders in the city that don't come from the general fund, but that come through various grants and other funding means. With that, I'll thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much for that, City Manager. We will now move on to consent calendar. Does any member of the City Council, successor agency wish to pull an item for separate discussion? Seeing none, I will now call for a motion to approve items number 10.1 through 10.8 of the consent calendar.
I move to approve.
I'll second that motion.
A motion by Councilwoman De Leon Sanchez, a second by Councilwoman Guillen. Can we have a roll call, please?
Members of the council and successor agency, Barsana,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem de la Rosa,
Yes.
and Mayor Chavez.
Aye. Thank you for that. We will now move on to item number the first item, discussion item 11.1, City Manager.
Thanks again, Mayor Chavez. This item is the usual local commission appointment list. It's staff's recommendation that the council review the appointments list and by motion remove commissioners and or make appointments to the posted vacancies. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that. Anybody want to add, change on their commissions?
I would like to appoint Ansli Preciado to the Youth and Recreation Committee, Commission.
Any more changes or additions?
I would like to appoint or add Mr. Samuel Perez to Traffic and Safety.
Any more additions or changes? Okay, can we get a roll call? Can we get a motion for those two additions?
I motion to approve the two additions.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman De Leon Sanchez and a second by Councilmember Barcener. I'll go ahead and just do all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Objections? I pass it. Thank you. Moving on to item 11.2, City Manager.
Thanks again, Mayor Chavez. This item is a item we bring back on an annual basis as a fiscal year 24-25 mid-year budget review. So Manuel, our Administrative Services Finance Director, will provide a presentation. And also, as part of the motion, after the presentation, we request approval of additional appropriations for ongoing projects that are generally funded from non-general funded sources. With that, I'll turn it over to Manuel to provide a presentation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, this evening I'll be providing a brief overview of our mid-year budget report for the current fiscal year 24-25. On this slide, we see the recent historical performance of the Bicycle Casino going back starting from fiscal year 2021 to the current. As we can see, the Bicycle Casino reached an all-time high of 18.8 million in fiscal year 22-23. And a historical low of 6.7 million in fiscal year 2021 due to the significant closures as a result of the COVID pandemic. For the current 24-25 fiscal year, Bicycle Casino revenues were adopted at 19.8 million. However, actual revenue has been significantly impacted because of construction activities inside of the Bicycle Casino building, including high-limit gaming areas. As a result, we project fiscal year 24-25 Bicycle Casino revenue to come in at 15.8 million for the year. On this slide, we see the adopted general fund budget for fiscal year 24-25. Revenues were budgeted at 46.2 million. The expenditures were budgeted at 46.1 million, resulting in a projected surplus of 72,000. Revenues were budgeted higher than the previous fiscal year 23-24 by 3.7 million, primarily due to expected increases in the Bicycle Casino fees, sales and use tax, along with other fees. Expenditures were budgeted higher by 4.4 million because of increases to expenditure categories such as personnel services, contractual services, capital outlays, and departmental supplies. On this slide, we see the revised mid-year forecast. As mentioned previously, revenues were adopted at 46.2 million. Expenditures were adopted at 46.1 million, with an adopted surplus or change in fund balance of positive 72,000. At mid-year, we are projecting general fund revenues to come in at 42.8 million, which is 3.4 million below the adopted budget. We project general fund expenditures to come in at 46.6 million, which is 508,000 above the adopted budget. As a result, we are projecting a negative change in fund balance of 3.8 million for fiscal year 24-25. On this slide, we see in greater detail some of the forecasted changes in general fund revenue through the end of fiscal year 24-25. As previously mentioned, we are expecting a reduction in revenue of 3.4 million from the original adopted amount. On the right of this slide, you will see some of the line item revenue categories that have forecasted increases or decreases through the end of the fiscal year. The most significant is the Bicycle Casino, which is forecasted to bring in 3.9 million less in fees than budgeted. Line items with expected increases through the end of the fiscal year include parking lot rental, secured property taxes, and building permits, amongst others. On this slide, we see the forecasted changes in general fund expenditures through the end of fiscal year 24-25. As previously mentioned, we are expecting an increase in general fund expenditures of 508,000 from the original adopted amount. We are forecasting personnel expenditures to come in at or near budget. Personnel costs are currently being reviewed by city staff and management to ensure budget targets are reached. We see slight savings in the category of departmental supplies. And the most significant increase is in the category of contractual services. And this is due to the increased rate of the city's general and auto liability coverages through the JPIA, which is our coverage for the year.
Manuel, if you hold on this
Yes.
slide just for a minute here. So the revenue part, I think we've talked as that was on the previous slide, but don't change it, Manuel. We brought an item about revenues about a month or 6 weeks ago to let the council know that looked like we have a shortfall. On the card room revenues, we kind of explained what the reason was as far as construction that was going on within the card room and that. This is on the expenditure side. That's the other side of the equation when it comes to the budget. So if you look at the personnel costs, the numbers are kind of small there, but we have a target we're also shows our forecasted actual expenditures. So we budget for the full complement of 158 full-time employees plus part-time employees. But we also assume that we'll have a 4.5% vacancy rate, which usually holds true. About any given time, we have 8 positions that are in some state of vacancy. There's a recruitment, somebody resigned. And so we're still always watching that as a target. So we make sure that we have some savings there. But as Manuel mentioned, this number normally would be almost right exactly at perfect. But the increases in our insurance rates through our CJPIA, I think are consistent with what people are seeing in insurance rates, even in their personal lives, in the 25-30% range, which is as much as $700,000 to $800,000 for the city of Bell Garden. So that's an ongoing cost that we'll have to include higher than what's been budgeted for in the past when we put together the fiscal year 25-26 budget in the next few months. So thanks, Manuel.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. This next slide is a continuation of the previous, summarizing the changes in general fund expenditures, primarily personnel costs, departmental supplies, contractual services, thus the expected increase in general fund expenditures of $508,000 through the end of the fiscal year. This slide identifies some of the non-general fund appropriations that will be coming to council for approval in the next few months. These pertain primarily to capital improvement projects. These items are primarily grant and/or county allocated funds directed towards new or ongoing CIP projects. This slide provides an overview of budgeted capital improvement projects that were carried over from the previous year, 23-24. This includes the Aquatic Center amongst other projects as well. This next slide provides an overview of the city's fund balance. At June 30th, 2024, the city's fund balance is calculated at $35.4 million. As indicated, we are projecting a change in fund balance of negative $3.8 million because of the combination of lower forecasted revenues and higher expenditures through the end of the fiscal year. As a result, at June 30th, 2025, at the end of this fiscal year, we are projecting the city's fund balance to be at $31.5 million. In the future, and just one note, in the future, future fund balance is expected to reduce to approximately $17.5 million as a result of the Aquatic Center expenditures program to be completed, to complete the project.
And Manuel, if you hold on to the slide here, just for the council's perspective, if you look at 2019, 2020, the general fund balance was right in the $17-18 million range. It was built up over several years. I've mentioned this as part of I think our revenue presentation a few weeks back. That was purposeful with intent from the council. And then as far as staff developing a budget to build up the fund balance to cover our share, the general fund share of the Aquatic Center project. So, it's a $31 million project. We've secured over $16 million in funding. We still have $14 or $15 million that would need to be paid for from the general fund to finish for the construction costs. And we don't show a 25, 26 projected, but if you did, you'd see that bar drop to almost exactly where the bar looked in fiscal year 2019-20. So essentially, I would liken this to is if somebody's saving up money in a savings account at home for a vacation they want to go on in 5 years, their big 20-year anniversary vacation. You save money for that purpose of paying for it, and the vacation comes. In this case, the pool gets built, and you write the check for the vacation. In this case, it'll be for the swimming pool. So it's a purposeful increase and then it will be a purposeful decrease. But just so that nobody's alarmed or that it's not expected, the fund balance was $35 million at June 30th, 2024. After the shortfall in the revenue from this fiscal year, and then over the next 10 months or so, the remaining $14 million gets spent for the aquatic center. We'll be right back into the, we're projecting 17.5, so right in that $17-18 million general fund range, which is roughly about 40% of our general fund expenditures in any given month. So it's still a reasonable fund balance to have. So thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. And the final two slides are a tentative schedule for the preparation of the fiscal year 25-26 general fund budget. In March, we will begin the preparation process, working with city departments and staff to identify the needs for 25-26. At the first council meeting in May, scheduled for May 12th, we will present a preliminary draft budget. This will be followed by a scheduled community budget workshop at Ross Hall, which is set for Wednesday, May 14th. And staff will then be presenting the final operating and capital improvement budget, hope for adoption at the June 9th, 25 meeting. So,
and then if you even just pause on this one. So, while we have council study sessions that are attended by the public, they're televised and that, I think we've talked the last couple of years, at least since COVID, about having a community budget workshop. So the reason we've scheduled it there for May 14th is, at that point, the council's kind of seen what the numbers look like, has expressed areas where maybe, things need to be decreased or increased. So at least what we're taking to the community budget workshop is something that the council's already looked at and vetted to some degree, for anybody that's interested beyond just the council meetings, as part of the budget process. So, that workshop's a new item that we're adding for this fiscal year that's been requested in the past, for us to consider to have. So we have one already scheduled. Thanks, Ben.
thank you, Mr. Kelly. That does conclude my report. Be more than happy to answer any questions that council might have.
And if I could just add, just in summary, again, some of the revenue information was provided to the council. Now you're seeing it in context of the expenditure side of things. Fiscal year ends in 4 months. It's, the years move quick. We're looking already at how do these numbers impact the fiscal year 25-26 budget. And just in summary, we think right up relative to 24-25, we'll probably have about a $2 to $3 million revenue issue that we need to deal with for 25-26. We'll have increased costs related to salaries and benefits, negotiated increases, probably in the $1.5 million range. We'll have an aquatic center that will open into the end of the year, so we'll have a half year of funding operations there at the aquatic center. So, not unlike other cities, I think if you look in the news to see, there are some cities that are already ahead of really needing to tighten things up going into closing out the current fiscal year and moving into the next fiscal year. It seems as though it's the normal cycle every 5 to 6 years as the economy kind of moves up and down. Level of services kind of move up and down accordingly. And so behind the scenes, we're working on really looking at those revenue issues, looking at the expenditures, how to keep those tightened up, and moving forward with the things that the council's already directed us to move forward with, that helps ensure we stay financially viable going into the future. Those are things such as looking at the water system, potential sell of the water system, fees associated with the water system, the cost of providing the surface water that we're providing for our water system, bringing back another fee study item, moving forward with development agreements that come to council, some being approved already, some future coming for retail cannabis sites. So working at this thing from a couple of different angles. We're not waiting until April, May when we start bringing things at council, but working behind the scenes on kind of a line item by line item detail basis. So with that, I'll stop talking, and as Manuel stated, turn it back over to questions for him from the council.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly.
Thank you so much for that, Manuel, and also City Manager for the presentation. Does any member of the council or successor agency have any questions, comments, discussion?
Yeah, I have a comment. I want to thank whoever put the community budget workshop on there. And I'm not sure who it was, but I know that we've done it in the past or it's been brought up in the past. I think there's several ways to look at it. Some people worry that we're gonna mislead the community by making them think that they can actually ask for things that can get put on the budget. Well, maybe, right? That's arguable. But I think the most important part about this portion of the budget process and opening it up to the community is that education element. I've been sitting here for a few years already, and I can't tell you how many times I've had to hear comments from people that come to do the public comment accusing us, everyone, of stealing money, of mismanaging funds. And I gotta say, I do think that a lot of that comes from like the lack of knowledge and understanding. But how can we expect our residents to be otherwise if we don't give them something like this budget workshop? So the only step that's missing is just making sure that we take advantage of it and that we funnel and encourage people to show up to the workshops. Yes, there's a chance that they can give us feedback and we will consider it and maybe it'll reshape the budget. But I think most importantly, it's an opportunity to create that civic engagement that we keep mentioning. So whoever put it there, whoever's pushing for it, thank you. I appreciate it. Another thing is just wanted to share something personal. Through the many budget years that I've been here in the city, one of the most interesting things that I would kind of flag for the new council is the budget from the perspective of discretionary funds versus non-discretionary. That's always really, I feel like it provides like a clarifying perspective on where the money is going, because if you look at the full budget, it's a very large number, but a big chunk of that, we don't get to say where it goes. They're just like grants, that are given to the city, and then the city needs to make sure that they spend it on the streets and parks and all that. But the discretionary portion of it is really what we're in charge of, like approving and voting on. So just an interesting thing about the budget that I feel like we should keep in mind, the discretionary funds versus non-discretionary. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Great. Anybody else want to make a comment, question? Okay, I'd like to make a comment, and I want to reiterate the point that Councilmember Barcena brought up in regards to the May 14, 2025 workshop. I'm happy to see it there. And I think in the past, we might have had a workshop, or I don't know if it was just like an information session, but I feel like with workshops, it's definitely, it's an opportunity to give information, but also take back information from the residents. I think in the past I've advocated for a workshop set up as and it's usually called like a budget participatory workshop, where essentially you provide the residents like a pie, set up, like a make up your own budget pie, and they sort of dictate where they want to see most of the programming or funding going to, as opposed to hosting a workshop where here's the budget and this is what's this is what's actually going to happen. So being a little bit more proactive and engaging in, perhaps maybe breaking up the participants into different sessions, or, having like a little piece of a white sheet on each board and dividing the groups. I think that's always engaging, and just kind of allowing them to say like how they would want to see their own funds used here within the city, if they want specific programs, right? And to the extent of their own experience, obviously, different people are going to have different priorities, but ultimately we as a council could then take that and say, oh, wow, out of the 40, 50 people that attended our workshop, most of them said that they want to see more programming around senior services, right? Or, they want to see more, I don't know, tree trimming around the parks, right? Or something like that. So I also wanted to ask in regards to a stakeholder analysis survey that we do. Is this around the time that's also going to be, yeah, how's that looking?
Yeah, so we usually do that right at the end of March, early April. I think as part of the strategic planning, I was going through the last two. And one of the comments is just interesting with the results that we've had in 2024, and also I think it was 22, is similarly what people end up, the way the order kind of rolls in, similarly matches up to the general fund budget. Not 100% correlation, but not dissimilar. So we'll be doing that here in the next, within the next 45 to 60 days. And then I think as you mentioned, hearing people at a workshop, if our survey is relevant or statistically significant in some way, which I think last year we determined it was to a fairly high degree, I think we would expect to see similar results from the survey too. So it'd be another data point, for the council to utilize, from the things you hear from residents, the things you see as a resident, as a council member, matched up with what does the stakeholder survey say, matched up with what you may hear in a community budget workshop. And I think they'll all triangulate into a fairly similar pie to what you've approved and adopted in previous, with previous councils and previous budgets.
Yes, yes. I was gonna say, I think the times that I know we've gone over it, it's like 80% of it tends to be 80 to 85, in terms of the priorities, but then you have that 15, 20 that might be different. And that's what we're always trying to chase after. What is the different things? What are things that we can improve or maybe just aren't, keen on to what's going on? In the past, I know when we brought this up, Councilmember Barcena and I, we've spoken about how the survey was done and whether or not the website, was it randomly generated? What were the list of priorities? So I know that could be a little bit too deep in the weeds, but I mean, when it comes to surveying, I mean, one little thing can shift the whole data, can shift the whole data points at the end, right? It could skew one thing differently and whatnot. But I think from the past, like the top three have been around public safety, affordable housing has been another big one. I would assume, and just based on our experience here, obviously passing the LACTMA item reimbursement, renters assistance has been huge, right? I think we have a wait list of 186 people trying to get rental assistance here in the city, right? I read it based on the reports that we get. So, I mean, there's a huge demand for that consistently. So, yeah, I'm interested in seeing that community budget workshop, and I would request that it's done in a style where it's much more engaging with the residents and directly trying to get feedback back from them, as opposed to consistently telling them, oh, this is the budget and this is what this is what the money's going to be used for. And instead, we want to hear from them and say, like, what do you want to do with your funds? Just an idea. And then obviously another data point, like the survey. Yeah. Anybody else want to make yeah, absolutely.
I just want to thank staff for putting the budget together. I know that it's difficult, especially when we do see a deficit within our budget. We want to make sure that we have a healthy budget and that we have revenue, so that we're able to continue to provide services not only for our residents, but also, the employees that work here for the city. With that being said, it is a little concerning to see where we're projected and going, but I am hopeful seeing that over the course of the past few years, we were able to generate revenue. We were able to make our fund balance be expanded. So I'm looking forward to that happening as well. And thank you for mentioning the costs that we are putting into our aquatic center, because I want to make sure that we are transparent with our community. And I'm hoping that a lot of our community members will come out to the budget workshop to better understand how their money is spent.
So I noticed that the city manager mentioned that, what is it called? The reserves were sort of like our savings for the vacation. Well, I don't want people to think that we're spending money on vacations over here. But one thing for sure is that our aquatic center is going to be uplifting our community from so many different perspectives. One of the most important ones for me is just the amount of opportunities for employment for our youth, right? Because the aquatic center, it employs from 25 to up to 30 people with the aquatic center that we have now. So those opportunities are going to be extremely valuable for our high school graduates. I mean, I'm one of those people that had a job as a as a high school student, an athlete, and was fortunate enough to be able to move up through the ranks, and now I'm here serving the community. So I can't express to you enough how valuable this opportunity is going to be for our youth. And hopefully we can encourage our residents to work here in their city, and just having those jobs there and that opportunity for kids to be in a healthy environment with role models that they can look up to. I mean, it's better than a vacation. So that's all I want to say.
I couldn't agree with you anymore, Councilman Barcena. And from all perspectives, this is an investment to our city, to the future generations. And everything from the park's going to look better, it's going to be better, property values are going to go up, you name it, right? This is going to be a huge, huge, huge investment to our future generations of our community. All right, well, if there's, oh, go for it.
I would like to thank the finance department for preparing such a thorough description of our budget, and making it, not only that, but making it digestible, to the 10th of a thousand. That's great. And I'm very excited to see how the workshop is going to be presented to the people. Hopefully it's in the same digestible manner, right? In processing these numbers. And thank you for going into detail, Mr. City Manager, about the cyclical patterns that we've seen in the past. And I was wondering if it'd be possible if you could go a little bit more into detail, as to, why we're experiencing such, financial climate, and, and see how, we can be a little bit more prosperous in the future.
Did you want like 45 seconds right now? I can, or did you mean later, Mayor Pro Tem? I can go right now. I'll just say real quick, from a cyclical perspective, the typical municipal government in the United States, specifically in the state of California, relies on taxes for probably 70% of its general fund revenue. The other 30% are user fees. So somebody wants to rent a canopy and a table at the park, they pay a fee for that. They want to pull a permit, they pay for the cost that it takes for the staff to put the permit together in accordance with the municipal code. Those are generally property tax, sales tax, utility user taxes, things of that nature. The city of Bell Gardens and other cities, but are somewhat atypical in that there's a large single source of general fund revenue. And so this would be similar to a smaller version of like in Anaheim, right? There's the Disneyland Resort, there's Anaheim Stadium, and there's the Honda Center. Our version of that is the bicycle hotel and casino and the card room revenues that are associated with it, and also even just land lease revenues that are associated with that single source as well. So that means that there's a positive from additional revenues that many other cities similarly sized and similarly located don't have. There's level of service that is provided to the residents that isn't necessarily experienced in other places. A $31 million aquatic center, really fast police response time, really fast graffiti removal response time, really fast, almost concierge response time relative to a lot of other cities, that I don't take for granted. But I think sometimes people can take it for granted. If you live in the city long enough, you're just used to it being that way. So as the normal economic cycle goes, it seems every 5 to 7 years, the U.S. economy generally goes through some sort of a recessionary process that usually lasts 2 to 3 years. And so what does that mean for most municipalities? It means property taxes, if they increase at all, they don't increase at the levels that they were increasing. Sales tax decreases. One of the items that Manuel showed was sales tax. Our total sales tax revenue here in the city of Bell Gardens is about $8 million with the additional sales tax that was approved by the voters back in 2019. Our analysis there shows that with some consultants that we use, that we expected sales tax increase by roughly 4%, and it looks like there's a little bit of a pullback in the economy, that maybe that increase will only be 2%. Well, that means our budget has $300,000 or $400,000 of revenue that doesn't look like it's going to materialize. It doesn't. There's really through nobody's fault. You cannot compel people to go spend at the same level that they were spending before. So those are issues that generally speaking come up regularly. I think in Bell Gardens, one of the extreme versions of that was when COVID hit. Most cities saw a small decline in sales tax, not much of a decline, if any, in property tax, probably a decline in some user fees because the parks were closed and that. Unique to Bell Gardens in that it's a benefit to have a large single source of revenue when it's there, but it's also very traumatic when that single source of revenue just goes away completely. The impact is different on a city like Bell Gardens than an impact from some of our neighboring cities that don't have that large source of revenue. So really, in Bell Gardens, and any single source revenue dependent city, you've got to build up your fund balance higher than other cities may need to, which has been the case here. General recommendation throughout the US is to have a fund balance that's roughly equal to about 25% of what you spend every year in the general fund. That would mean for the city of Bell Gardens, maybe 12 million, 11, $12 million, yet the number's 35 million. And even after building a new aquatic center and covering a shortfall, still be at almost 18 million. So those are some kind of unique challenges to Bell Garden mixed in with the normal ebb and flow of economic conditions. And what you normally see in most government agencies as revenues come up, services come up too. I could say in the time that I've been here at the city of Bell Gardens, I think we've gone from roughly 140 full-time employees budgeted to 158. It's 18 new employees. If I describe the services that those employees provide, they would be things that you would all recognize are related to ordinances that have passed, requests for services that have passed, funding sources that have become available. As funding starts to decrease and some of the funding goes away, most government agencies, including the City of Bell Gardens, starts to look at what are the things that we do that we don't have revenues directly provided for to do. What are things we don't have to do or that aren't as effective as maybe they were at the time those positions were created? So I think just to eliminate any alarm that may be there with a $3.9 million shortfall, just remember it's on a general fund budget of 46 million. It's about an 8% shortfall. It's not a 20%. It's not 30, 40%. It's 8%. So that is something that I think the council and the residents and the business owners, stakeholders should expect that the city is nimble enough to be able to address and withstand an 8% decrease in revenues. That's a reasonable expectation that we're able to handle that, which I think we are using all of the normal means and levers that we have. Obviously, the goal is to continue to grow revenues that protect services that are provided to the residents and potentially increases them. But also there's challenges that we don't control most of those revenues. Again, we don't control what people spend their money on that results in sales tax. Food and medicine don't count. People always buy those, but generally speaking, food at the grocery store and medicine, there's no sales tax related to it. You have to have the money to go out and buy food that's already prepared for you, whether it's from the taqueria that was here or McDonald's or something. Property taxes, we can do the things we could do to make Bell Gardens enticing for people to want to invest in, but we can't grow property taxes just on our own. So those are all the normal challenges. And I think just the final thing to say is it seems that there is a normal cycle going on here that's been a little bit delayed. Maybe people expected it 3 or 4 years ago and COVID kind of put a whole different spin on it. And so, from the staff perspective and the council perspective, we should do everything we can do to make sure that we're, prepared to withstand that cycle and continue to provide services. And we're putting a lot of work into doing that.
Thank you so much, Mike. I know it becomes a pretty sensitive topic when it comes to finances and thank you so much for the breakdown. And I love when we speak about the finances portion and it's in upkeeping that transparency. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Mike. Anybody else have any questions, comments, points of clarification? Seeing none, may I have a motion, a second to receive and file the budget presentation?
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Guillen and a second by Mayor Pro Tem de la Rosa. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed? Objections? All right, thank you. Ayes have it. Moving on to item 11.3. City Manager?
Thanks again, Mayor Chavez. Continuing the financial motif of these discussion items, this is a consideration approval of a resolution approving a loan agreement with Hub Cities Consortium for financial assistance that's been requested. We've got a PowerPoint presentation that I'll run through here. So for background, the Hub Cities Consortium is a joint powers authority among 6 city members, including the city of Bell Gardens, Cudahy, Huntington Park, Linwood, Maywood, Southgate. Provides a wide range of specialized programs and services, which include job assistance programs, services to youth, young adults, business services. And if you just look at the map there, the average number of residents, according to census, for each one of these cities is somewhere right around 48,000, give or take. The city of Bell Gardens has 39,000 residents. Southgate and Linwood have larger. I think they're into the 50s and 70,000 range. Maywood, Cudahy, smaller. There was a request from the Hub Cities Consortium. They've requested back about 2 weeks ago, $545,000 financial assistance from its 6 member cities to continue operations through June 30 of 2025. The requested $545,000 is comprised of 2 components: $245,000 for their CalPERS pension costs and $300,000 for other operating costs. The fiscal impact here, financial assistance on behalf of the city of Bell Gardens, as the staff is proposing it here, will be no more than 1/6, since there's 6 cities, of the total requested amount, which will not exceed $90,834. So if you go back to the $545,000, divide it by 6, the number you get is $90,834,000. So staff is requesting his authority from the council for a loan amount, and it doesn't just have to be in one setting. It could be parsed out for an amount not to exceed the city's 1/6 share. But if other Hub city members approve funding loans that's less than their 1/6 proportionate share, then the Bell Gardens loan amount would be lowered accordingly. That's the request that's there. Generally speaking, it seems as though there is definite interest in helping Hub cities pay for their CalPERS costs. Still working on the operating costs and the need based on their cash flow that may be coming from the county and other issues. So the point of this, though, is to allow them to continue to provide services through June 30 of 2025 while they're awaiting potential future funding from LA County and other sources as well. With that, it's staff's recommendation to adopt a resolution that would appropriate monies and authorize a loan from the general fund up to the $90,834 to reduce that amount accordingly to match what the other cities that are in the consortium are willing to provide. I can assure there's a lot of discussion going on with at the Hub cities, including our representative here on the council, and also from the city manager and finance staff, and working with Hub City staff, and also working with the other city managers at the other participating cities. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Mayor.
I'd like to open it for discussion. Any questions, comments?
Is there a date when all the cities have to finalize whether they're going to agree to loan the money to Hub cities or not?
There's some upcoming needs that I think have been used as a de facto date, nothing that's specifically set. But I can assure the council, and specifically council member, but the council as a whole, that from the city attorney, city manager, finance, and also with our representative, that that we're watching what the other cities are doing to ensure that the city of Bell Gardens is not doing more than its fair share. So there isn't a specific date, but there are cash flow needs that are coming up in short order.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, really quickly. I know it said, should the loan be granted, the services would be continued to, what was the exact date?
Through June 30 of 2025, basically the end of the fiscal year. So Hub City staff, in consultation with their board of directors, has come up with a dollar amount that they need to just ensure that they can stay open, continue providing services, while more permanent, long-term funding sources is solidified or not.
Any more questions, comments? All right, seeing none, may I have a motion, a second to adopt the resolution appropriating the loan to Hub Cities Consortium and enter into a loan agreement?
Move to follow staff's recommendation.
I'll go ahead and second that. We have a motion by Councilmember Barson, a second by Mayor Jorge. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Objection? All right. Seeing none, moving on. We'll go on to City Council Successor Agency comments, beginning with Councilmember Barson.
Thank you guys very much for all that you do in the city. I appreciate your hard work. Hang tight. I know that the political climate is intense, to say the least, but I do feel like we're gonna get through this. And yeah, thank you to my colleagues as well. That's all.
Thank you for that, Councilwoman Guillen.
Likewise, I share the sentiment. Thank you. I would like to give a special thanks to both Bernie and Chief. You guys have been so much help with, other graffiti removals. And well, just thank you. And every time I hear about you, I hear wonderful things. Thank you.
Councilwoman Sanchez.
I too want to thank the staff, but I also want to, we don't get a lot of civic engagement. We talked about that. We know we have some people watching online, but I do want to clarify that when certain individuals come into these chambers and make blanket statements about all of us here on the dais, usually I don't let it get to me and I let it go. But when certain things are said, regarding our character, how we are as people, I welcome the residents and I welcome individuals to have conversations with us, get to know us. What do we stand for? What are our priorities? Like who we are as individuals sitting up here. We were elected to be here to represent our city and we're doing the best job that we can, but to make blanket statements about us is not appropriate, and I invite that individual to come have a conversation with me. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councilwoman Sanchez. So we'll go ahead and go with Mayor Pro Tem de la Rosa.
I would like to thank all the departments for all their hard work. It's very noticeable. We had an eventful planning commission meeting as well. I want to thank Mr. Gustavo Romo, Chief, everyone in the departments. Thank you so much for your guys' hard work. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. As for my comments, I just want to take a moment and invite everybody to the 5K. Our 5K is scheduled for March 8th here in our great city. I invite everybody in attendance to participate and run the 5K, walk the 5K, whatever you want to do at the 5K. Definitely encourage you to do it. I will be doing it. I have ran the 5K for the past, this is going to be my fourth or fifth time. So it's exciting. It's one of my favorite events. I've gotten confirmations from our senator's going to be there. I reached out to our assemblywoman to also be there. And then our supervisor said that she was going to try to make it. So senator said she was going to run it too. So it'll be the first time. It's great to see Senator Gonzalez coming out. So I'm going to follow up with her again and ensure that we have all of the logistics happening. But other than that, just again, want to thank staff for all their hard work. Obviously, these going to these council meetings. I know Mike, usually the week before, he's in here till 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock even. If it's Thursday when the agenda is due, he's here till probably close to midnight, along with Daisy, who's also our city clerk, publishing and all the technical difficulties with Stephanie, legal, can't forget about AMLO and all the great, amazing service they provide. So just again, want to say thank you for going above and beyond, with You want to say something, Councilman Barson? No, I want to.
I just want to acknowledge our participants here tonight that stayed for the whole council meeting. Thank you for being here and you know, being disciplined about civic engagement. Thank you. It's very inspiring.
Thank you so much, Eliseo. And I don't know, I'm trying to make sure I get everybody here in the audience. AMLO's also present here in the audience. And then also Mayor Pro Tem de la Rosa's family is also present. So second meeting in a row. We expect to see them now from now on. Pero with that said, just thank you to staff for once again, all your hard work. Appreciate it. It does not go unseen. And always know that here on behalf of the City Council, you have our support. All of you. So with that said, thank you again. And if there's no objection, if there's no more comments, I will go ahead and adjourn the City Council Successor Agency meeting at 7:39 p.m.